time to assess assessments. And what I mean by that is tests are necessary. We need that data to be able to measure student retention, student learning, student growth. And so we can't get rid of tests and assessments altogether. However, we as an education system are assessing and testing entirely too much. To the point where, teachers are teaching to the test, not because they want to, but because they have to distribute these assessments so often, and there's a pressure on them to do that and for students to do well. And then students feel that pressure of being tested all of the time, and it's not working because the data shows us that our reading, writing, and math scores have declined, especially over the past few years. Some might say, oh, well, that was because of the pandemic. Maybe, but those scores were declining before the pandemic. And it's because we've taken away autonomy in teaching. We've taken away the ability for a student to really kind of slow down and learn at a reasonable pace, retain the information, apply it, and, kind of have a whole learning experience. Instead, it's teach it, test it, move on. And that's not fair to anybody. And so because we do need to test and we do need to assess, there are some other ways to do this that's not so stressful on educators or students and their families. You can have some standardized tests, of course, but you can have a conversation, you can do an interview, a portfolio, a project. There are other ways to assess how your students are learning and see if they're retaining that information and how they're going to apply it. As a young student, I was way better at communicating what I've learned through words. If I had to write an essay, it was great. If I had to sit down and take a multiple choice test on a bubble sheet, that was stressful to me and I might not do as well. I knew the information, but I needed to be tested in a way where I could be successful. If students learn differently, shouldn't they be tested differently as well? We're holding everybody to the same standard when we talk about individualized learning and personalized learning, and we're not assessing in that way. So there's a disconnect there. If we can sit down and talk about effective ways to assess that include data and assessment, but also include autonomy and creativity and growth, it would be a much better situation and a healthier experience for educators and for students as well. And that's ultimately what we want, is success for everybody.